Now, with respect to the relationships, that's the purpose of this meeting, okay? Purpose of this meeting from the outset has always been to have a clarification of state law. Now, the best person to do that is the auditor. I believe that he's provided that information, and if you, does everybody have a copy of that PowerPoint? Yes. Okay. Now, does everybody have a copy of it? No. Okay. Mark? Great. All right. Louise, why don't we get a list? If we could pass a list out, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be happy to forward that to you, so you have a copy. We'll have it on the website, but a lot of folks may not have access to a computer to do that. So we have some more sheets, signing sheet. Okay, we'll circulate the signing. And when you see Mark come around, please raise your hand. Please print. Please print, so we can read it and make sure we get it delivered. In addition to that, I'll make sure that we get a copy to Mayor Lansky's office, and we'll get them out to all the council people. So in the event, for some reason, we cannot read your handwriting. If we can't read your handwriting, please forgive me. It doesn't mean I didn't try hard. Doesn't mean I didn't get the magnifying glass, but I have to rely on that document. And so we'll pass that around. We'll send them to you direct. If that is not available, we'll make sure your council folks and the mayor's office get an adequate number on that. Now, building those relationships is extremely important, because if you remember when 9/11 happened, it didn't matter if you were Democrat, Republican, what part of the country you lived, whether or not you were in the Rocky Mountains or down in southern Georgia, in Stone Mountain, Georgia. The point is that every American was focused on the issue of the people who had attacked our country. Our community is being attacked, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah. The people that you talked about that are unemployed, they're surviving. And their survival is sometimes coming on the backs of their neighbors. Their surviving sometimes is going up somewhere and trying to put somebody out of business because they gotta feed something, right? You all know that better than I do. And so the most important thing is to try to stabilize our community, help create some economic growth, talk positively about what's being done, but talk realistically and don't be afraid to talk. When you come in a meeting like this, ask the questions, the tough questions that we can respond and incorporate in that plan. And again, everybody is invited to send in information about their specific questions. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. My question is directed to the mayor. First and foremost, I want to say to the mayor, thank you.
Excuse me. Please, I'm not trying to be formal or anything, because it's all family. Please ask me the question and let me do it like that. And let me tell you the reason why we're doing this, okay? The reason why I'm requesting that you direct the question to us is that's the protocol of a meeting. So when you go to your council meeting, that's the way you expect it to see it conducted.
Yes, sir.
All right.
So my question was initially directed to the mayor, but I'll direct it to you. First and foremost, I want to thank the mayor for taking the time to stand up and present such a compelling case about the dire situation our city finds ourselves in.
How you doing?
Hello, John.
I say you. I know that voice.
I think it was very important for the mayor or any other official to stand up and tell us as residents what we're facing. And what we're facing, as the mayor stated, are dire cuts at the federal, state, and county level, and that those revenue streams are never coming back. I think I also heard the mayor say that 2 times previously, he put a tax levy on the ballot that failed, and the last time it failed, that the margin was closer than it was the previous time.
Why do you suppose it failed?
Because people, I think it's a couple of things.
I want to hear this from everybody though.
I think it's a couple of things. I think that first and foremost, a lot of people just can't afford to pay the additional taxes. And I think it's another more important, equally important reason. A lot of people don't understand what the city is facing. So I appreciate him sharing with us what the city is facing and the hard choices ahead of us. He said he's going to put another levy on the ballot in November. And I just wanted to know if that is part of the plan. I don't think a lot of Maple Heights residents realize the financial situation we find ourselves in. If the current administration could educate us more to what we're facing and the hard choices we have to make. If I recall, in Garfield Heights, they went into a fiscal situation, and one of the things that came out of that, whether they liked it or not, they had to increase their taxes. Nobody wanted that to happen. But those residents are proud to say they live in Garfield Heights, and they bit the bullet, and they took that on, they approved that levy, and they're paying those extra taxes, those additional taxes, and you can actually see Garfield starting to thrive. I don't want to pay additional taxes, and I'm sure nobody in this room wants to pay additional taxes, because we are taxed to death at every municipal level. I get that, and I'm on board with that, but at the same time, I am a Maple Heights resident. I am proud to be a Maple Heights resident, and if I've got to tighten my belt to keep this community thriving and in a positive light to the rest of the community, I'm going to do that too. Because I don't think that we can get out of this without that being part of the way forward. It's not something that we want, it's not something that we like, and in a lot of ways, it's not something that we can easily do. But I do think we can do it. And if we don't do it, then we can't complain. And I don't want to be in the same category as East Cleveland. That is not an option. It's just not an option. Thank you.
Thank you, Janice. Good to see you. Let me just respond. All I can talk about is some of the impact that it's had on state policy. I'll leave the Fed aspect alone. But we have some issues because Maple Heights housing values have dropped below a lot of areas. Okay? And be that right or wrong, I probably have some issues with that, because right now the way the margins work, you can get more by buying that $30,000 house and getting about $1,000 a month out of it for 12 months, and you're gonna get it back, and it's still valued at $30,000. In 2 years, you get. I mean, there's not a stock on Wall Street to get a better return than that for people coming in. But what we've got to do is, in a very constructive way, develop a system of how people come in and invest in our community, what our expectations are. In our meeting before, we were talking about the fact that folks coming in, and because of some of the cuts, I guess, I don't know if that was prior to that, but with folks coming in, and it takes a while to get a building permit. Now, that's a part of a plan. If you get a building permit that you applied for in June, 6 months later, it's cold then, right? It could be 3 months later, it could be a month later. In any event, if a person invests in a community, 30 days costs money. Look how much they would lose based on owning a house and renting it every month. So those kinds of systems have got to be. Now, all over the county, there has been a discussion. Now, let me ask you, fire chief in the back, How is it cold one? Am I a cold one call, right? Whatever they call it. I'm thinking about 1 Adam 12 or something. But if we have a call to come up to a fire, how many times have we needed to use a ladder truck? And the chief and I have had discussions about this. Over the last month, how many times have you used your ladder truck?
We currently don't have a ladder truck.
Okay. All right. How many times you use your pump?
We average maybe a fire a month.
Fire a month, okay? Now, Chief, we had this discussion. How much does a ladder truck cost?
$1 million.
Huh?
$1 million.
$1 million. Now, since we had one a month, and you had that fire truck sitting up there for $1 million, does that, can you justify letting $1 million sit, and every time, you know, like in cars, you drive it off the lot, and then it loses value? So, one of the things that the city's got to look at is how you integrate those costs and share it with somebody else. So if we need a ladder truck, which is probably what the chief is doing, which sounds like they've already done that, that ladder truck may come from Bedford or Warrensville, another with the same response time. You might lose a couple of seconds, but that's an example of how some things have to be cut, and that's not regionalism, that's just smart. The question is whether or not you want to spend $1 million or keep that in your pocket because you own the government. It's your government. So that is a concept that puts people first, and that's how we respond to that. Sir, please.
Yes. Thank you very much. I agree with everything that I've heard so far. Everybody's talked about, you know, you got to step up. You know, that's just, you know, that's one of the consequences of you know, of being part of something. But I'd like to say this also, that we have a wonderful school system here. We have people just move in next door till you cross the street. And they're also enjoying the benefits of Maple Heights. And they aren't paying out of their pockets. You know, I mean, if we're going to be a family, let's be a big family. Okay. Now, and you know, honestly, from listening to what is said about properties, people aren't buying properties. You know, but yet and still we need money. They're not buying, they're renting. I know the interest rate is 2.6 or 7 or something, and that's very, very low. People are just not able or whatever to buy properties. But yet and still, they enjoy, the kids enjoy a wonderful school system, brand new schools. You know, and what happens? They run out of Cleveland to get here. Because I'm talking Cleveland. So they run out of Cleveland to get here and enjoy all of these wonderful things. But we're going to have to be inclusive. We're going to have a big family. You know, and that's one of the things that we need to possibly put on the agenda. Thank you.
Sir, thank you very much. You're absolutely right. There's a book. It's an old book too, right? It's a book I had in school. It's called Leading Change. It's by an author. His name is John Cutter, in case any of you are interested in it. John Cutter is recognized as one of the foremost experts in organizational redevelopment, organizational change for corporations and what have you, but the principles apply to municipalities. And one of the things that he talks about in the book, I grabbed it from coming out, people got to have a reason to believe that if they dig in their pocket deeper, that they're willing to do this. got to have a reason to believe. They have a reason to believe that there's transparency, there's responsibility, and everything. I'm not saying that's not the case. That's up for you to decide. But in giving you a reason to believe, you got to be a part of the process. And that's one of the principles that Cutter talks about. About the fact that no matter how much money you pay people, no matter how many titles you give them, that when there is a restructuring, that people have got to believe that there can be a better tomorrow by having confidence in the plan.
That's right. Yeah.
That's what businesses do. Our city government is a business. No matter how somebody want to say it's not there for profit, but it's a business. And so we've got to look at every opportunity. We've got to look at innovations. Even our children can come up. Now, let me just tell y'all something that really offended me, okay? Now, every school in Maple Heights is brand new, all right?
Yeah.
Now, let me just talk to you about cooperation, all right? Now, we're one family, so I don't expect y'all to go out and talk about this. It's just a little family business, right? Everybody in this room is paying for in public schools. Now, Father, I want to thank Father for having a meeting here, but we couldn't schedule
All right.
school and have a meeting.
Right.
Now, wait a minute. We're not going to point this, everybody, this, Father's looking around. Oh, wait a minute. The reason I'm telling you that, I'm not trying to beat up on nobody, all right?
Come on.
What I'm trying to say is that we're all in this together.
That's right.
Right? And somebody might not like what you say,
All right.
but when we all leave out the room, we need to be on the same page. Right?
Yeah.
And that's a godly way, right?
Right.
And so these are the things that you need to look at. Now, it's a little warm in here, and I need to roll up my sleeves a little bit. But we got some real good air conditioning not too far from here, right? Some real good air conditioning, right? And who's paying for it? You're paying for it, all right? Everybody in here is paying for that air conditioning.
Where they do that at?
And we're not using it. So when I talk about cooperation, it doesn't matter whether or not, in government, I go downstate, I got 99 votes. The only thing I'm worried about, thinking about is how many votes I can get. That means that somebody down in Southern Ohio who has a different view of me, I got to try to find out how they think so I can get that vote. That's all it's about down there.
That's right.
Right?
Politics.
And so that's our process of government. I didn't invent it. But what we don't want here, you all hear about what's going on in Congress. You don't want to see that happen in your city. And so when I see things that the school's not available, that smells to me. Now, do I have options? Do I have options that I can pursue?
Yeah, of course.
I could on your behalf, but I'm happy here, Father. We have some water up here, and it's comfortable. The door's open, and it's beautiful looking out the window. But the point of the matter is that so that's, ma'am, in response to your thought. Please.
I want to ask how many council personnel are here, because we haven't heard but from two, the mayor and District 5. And it's kind of disappointing not to hear from our council when he was asked the question.
Well, go ahead. Okay.
I wanted to answer some of the questions when the opportunity was given. Like, they didn't say anything, and that doesn't encourage us, to hear. We need to hear from you. We put you in office. And I like to hear what plan where we go from here. I want to leave here going, okay, you had some meetings. What's in the meetings? What's going on? How can we know, or what can we do? We need to come together. Okay, how do we do that? What's the plan?
we have our city council finance chair. You want to come on up? Come up to the mic back there, Councilman.
Good evening, everyone. In terms of prospective meetings are coming, next week the Finance Director will be introducing the amended appropriation, so Council will be meeting regularly for the next few weeks to make amendments to the 2014 fiscal budget. Thereafter, then, Council will be meeting with the Finance Director and the Mayor to go over the fiscal recovery plan, which is to meet the deadline for August 8th. So those are some of the meetings, and all of those meetings are open to the public. And so you can call the council office, or you can call myself or your council member. Those meetings are also posted at different places across the city. So all of those meetings are open to the public, and we encourage the residents to come out and hear their concerns and allow them to be a part of the process and see what their government is doing to work on these financial challenges ahead of us.
Thank you, Richard. Let me just ask by a show of hands. Do you feel you have a little bit better information now about the finances?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Okay. Then that's now. I'll be meeting with the auditor and his staff and his city to talk about some next steps, and it just may be that another meeting may be necessary. Okay? Now I'm not going to say that it's not, because ladies and gentlemen, you go into a meeting, everybody walk out and you feel good, you got a little information, you leave, we still got to get it done. And so all of us in government have a responsibility to ensure that you're successful. And we'll do everything we can. But in Article 18 of the Ohio Constitution, the cities come down and lobby us all the time about this. It's called home rule. And that's why you see a lot of things. Now, that's the process. That's what has happened. And so we understand that now. We're going to follow up. Now, has everybody had an opportunity who wanted a copy of the plan, receive the signed sheet? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
I'm glad that you're here, and thank you. I think everybody has August 8th in their mind. We've heard a lot of things over the months at council meetings and put out in the media just about how bad things are. I think Mayor Lansky did a great job articulating that again this evening for us all. But optimistically, I think someone said before me, we need to understand what the levee's about. What you said about the checkbook, the investment that we have to make in our community. I think people do that when they're educated about exactly what the levee's about. And so however that's going to be, if we have another meeting with you here individually, that's very important for the people who are not going to understand how important to pass that levy is. Also, 2012 was reevaluation by the county auditor. We all know we lost significant value in our homes. There is an update year, 2015. Next year, actually, 2015 actually is another chance for our values to go up. Values are going up again, so we have a chance to get our values up. But we need to make our city attractive. We have to cut our grass. We talk about getting people here. We have to mow our lawns, we have to paint, we have to replace the windows, we have to pick up the trash, whether it's your trash or not. We have to take our trash cans back. So as we get ready to get our property values back, we have some things to do as well as the normal reevaluation and reappraisal that takes place. But everybody here, we have a commitment to make this place a desirable place to live by doing what we can do. Let's pass the levy. When we have the information, we can make an informed decision, we can make better choices, and let's take care of our property. Because we're going to get our values back, just like we'll get our city back. And I'm very glad to be here tonight and hear the information. It's been very helpful to me. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. I've had, I'm not going to mention their names, but I've had discussions with two of your council people as a result of some of the inquiries about people moving in, right? And so to develop a kind of an orientation program, when people come to a city and they move in, right? Everybody here, everybody, don't care where you live, wherever you live, you want people to cut their grass, right? We want people to get some flowers. We want people to respect Mr. McGillicuddy. Every street has a Mr. McGillicuddy, right? We want Mr. McGillicuddy respected because he's the guy that's been there for 40 years. And in his 40 years, he know everybody who's come and gone and everything, and everybody on that street looks up to him. And so it's extremely important to have that kind of discipline, and unless they want me to, I won't mention, but there's a discussion about orientation. How we welcome people to our community. How we explain to them what our expectations are as a community, and help to remind them as to why they moved to the community. People don't move to a community because it's not appealing to them, right? Any of you move here because it wasn't appealing to you? Where you make some of the largest investments people make? And so we want people, as they're coming into the community, to think about that. I'm committed to working with them. They have to introduce the legislation and in the city, and then perhaps we'll find some ways, either through volunteers or some other means, to help pay for that. Okay? They have to, again, they have to introduce it. Do we have any further questions? We have some more over here. We're right on time. Yes, ma'am.
What you were saying about the people in the community, there are houses that were empty, and people come in, buy the houses, don't live in the community, don't care who's coming in the community, and they have people come in on the property, do anything they want to do. I have one next door to me, and I'm not happy about it.
Amen. I got 3 of them next
now,
door.
that's the whole point of the orientation, because the thing is that it's not always who owns the property, it's who lives in the property. And so, you know, there was this comedian, he talked about Bebe's kids. I don't know if anybody ever heard of that joke, right? But more importantly, everybody remembers Miss Crabtree, Little Rascals, right? All of us have been kids, right? All of us have done things that Miss McGillicuddy didn't like.
Right.
But what they always got was tough love, because the village took care of them. That's right. And so the whole point of orientation is to embrace people. It's to help people to understand what the expectations are, how we can come together, work together, live together, stand together, and fight together. Sir?
Good evening. Representative Barnes, we thank you for coming out tonight and presenting this information for us. My name is Ruffin, Jesse Ruffin. I am one of the business owners in this city. I have lived in this city since 1982. All of my children have graduated from Maple Heights school system, and they all have been educated in college. And I have watched the city all these years change. One of the things that I'm not going to elaborate on all, because I will be here for 3 or 4 weeks, but I want to make sure that one particular issue is heard tonight. As a broker, I'm faced with individuals coming into the city and having problems with the building department and the point of sale process. I believe in the point of sale process to keep properties up. But if I can use an analogy to get this point across, the properties when I first moved here was around an average of $49,000 in Maple Heights, Garfield, Bedford. And if you use a 2.5% over a 30-year period of appreciation, the property should be around $120,000. The average property now is less than $50,000, which has taken us back over 34 years. One of the things that we're finding that investors are buying these properties who have cash.
That's right. Come on.
And then they rent them out. If a city is going to prosper, it must have home owners.
All right.
Now, some people may be tenants in here and may not agree with that. But the fact of the matter is, home ownership is the key to a city to survive. When you have a situation where a person comes into the community to buy a property at these low prices, and the city says, well, we need to hold an escrow for the cover of repairs. Let's use an analogy once again. $10,000 is the cost of the repairs. Well, now you have to hold the $10,000 in escrow, and then you need $10,000 to do the repairs to get the money, to get the certificate. So that's a total of $20,000 just to purchase a property at a low value. Most people who are trying to buy a property don't have that kind of money. Only investors. So what I'm saying, my brother, is somehow, and I don't want to point fingers because I'm a one-on-one person. I don't go behind nobody's back. But I have sent certified letters to talk to the commissioner to work on these things. So I'm proud that you coming tonight and putting this on the floor, because now it opens up a door that it is necessary for us to talk, especially to the people that's working in the city, because businesses are not coming to Maple Heights if they feel they're going to be challenged this way. And most people cannot afford to pay that kind of money in escrow and do the repairs and purchase the property too. Now, yes, there are some programs where you can finance a property and get rehab money in a loan. But when people have had loss of jobs, the credit is screwed up, they can't get the loan. So therefore, you have to work with them on the other side. A lot of people have lost homes because they got tricked with the financial institutions that came out and were refinancing their properties and telling them that you can get $20,000 cash in addition to your property at 125% of its value. We know that's where it came from. So now these people are losing their properties, but they still want to own. So a lot of people right now are trying to save the money that they're not able to pay on their mortgages because they done got behind, and they want to pay cash for a house because they don't want a mortgage anymore, but they still want to be homeowners. I'm willing at any time to sit down with any one of the leaders and talk about these things. And I can bring 20 or 30 other brokers with us to sit down and share some of these ideas. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reverend. Let me just respond. You first of all, you're exactly right. The question is, how do we enhance value? One of the things that can be done when people get their evaluation for the properties, you know, let's just say, for instance, your property was evaluated at $75,000 5 years ago. All right, and you know, today your property's down to $49,000. Well, you still paying taxes on the $75,000 because that was the obligation, right? If you pay. Now, with the vacancies that we have, one of the things that I have been working on, And I'm not going to tell you it's easy. It's real tough, right? Because Mr. McGillicuddy lives next door to a vacant property. That property has been vacant for 3 years, 5 years, 6 years, right? Since the bottom fell out of the economy. Mr. McGillicuddy wants that lot cleared because he's tired of seeing people going in there, taking out the plumbing. Once they get the plumbing, now they put a sign on the front, no plumbing inside or plastic inside, right? You got a little cold. Nobody ever thought about that. But that's what's going on. So I had to look at Mr. McGillicuddy when we get the dollars, the few dollars that they have to demolish properties. Say, Mr. McGillicuddy, you know, with the exception of the bathroom and the kitchen, the walls in that living room, they look just like yours. They just need a little paint. The steps are not broke, Mr. McGillicuddy. The fence is okay. The garage is intact. The only area we have to correct is the bathroom and the kitchen. Put a new hot water tank in, maybe a new furnace. So I developed this program called it's surgical demolition, right? And we're working on it. I've been working on this for a couple of years now. It is not easy. It's hard. Okay? It's hard work because there's so many people you gotta please to try to get it done. So if we spend $5,000 to $10,000, here's the math. Bill Clinton always says it's about arithmetic. This was arithmetic, right? If we spend $5,000 to $10,000 to demolish a home, you all go to Home Depot, you know you go up there and buy the best furnace for about $700, right? They don't pull out the ductwork, they pull out the furnace. You know the best hot water tank up there costs about $500.
Get to the microphone.
And you got to put cabinets in. So if people, because people today, and you're right, Reverend, folks credit bad on the scoring chart, they don't score well, right? They can't get it. That's why rentals are going up. So if you could take that $5,000 to $10,000, attach it to the property, not the person, attach it to the property, and let them use that as part of reducing the risk pursuant to what is it, the Dodd-Franks bill. Everybody heard about that? That's a federal law, y'all. Dodd-Franks bill, which changed the way that we can go about the process of applying for money. It made it much harder is what it did, okay? But it was designed to protect, but it's really hurting a lot of people in a lot of ways. It's hurting, right? Because people can't get cash. But if you could use that $5,000 to $10,000 for demolition and use that to reduce the risk, then just maybe that person who's marginal on their credit might qualify. And then we can put people back in those homes as opposed to tomato plants that we don't have the customers to buy. Tomatoes, right? Everybody grow tomatoes. And so that's kind of, you know, and it seemed like it makes so much sense, Reverend. I mean, the stuff that makes so much sense is harder than the more difficult stuff that you have to try to explain and get done. But you got to know what? You got to be unrelenting as the way you try to go about that process. And so I just want you to know that I hear you, and there are some ideas out there that we're going to be unrelenting in trying to pursue. That's not going to solve the problem tomorrow, but hopefully down the line we can get something done. You need to have some answers. Are there any further questions? Then all of you need to give yourselves a hand. And Father, would you come up, please? Mark, where we? You have a question? Okay.
A comment.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Brothers and sisters, I asked the mayor to convene a council of all the pastors in Maple Heights. All the pastors, the priests, the deacons, the lay workers, all of them into one body. If it's here, here. To see what we can do to raise up the funds before August to support the senior center, the food bank, the police, the fire, the mayor, all of them. Yeah. Come and party here. I'm gonna have a beer, a wine, or whatever. We can do it. We're together. So I challenge the mayor privately. I'm asking him publicly. Beginning Sunday, Linda, Sunday there will be a venue for the senior center and the food bank here. I can't put a target how many thousand we want to raise, but the levy didn't pass, so one at a time. Call the pastors, use the churches, use the halls that they have. I have a big one here. Come, one at a time. Let's raise the money. Let's be a family together. Okay?
Nobody can say it better than Father. Father, all the council members, would you join me up front? Mayor, Auditor, Alex, would you guys come up here for a minute? Ladies and gentlemen, we indeed need some divine intervention, and I just wanted to express my appreciation, Father, for opening up the doors of the church, coming in, real important issue for the community, and I wanted to recognize him for having this event and say thank you. I know it's not thanks because you're going to have to give us a lot of prayers to get through this. We need some help. All right? So this is a recognition from our office for his leadership. And he was leading right to the end of the meeting when he talked about the importance of bringing all of the clergy together in important meetings. I'll bring the Bob Evans and the Grits. All right. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you.